Audio on comms.
Copy audio, thank you. Do we have a graphics op on comms?
We do.
Awesome, thank you. And also, my leg can bend now, so that's good.
That's excellent news.
Yeah, walking's still a little bit of a struggle, but the leg can bend.
Good.
Director on com.
Hi, Jake.
All right, Duke, do you have your whole
And
team?
vocals.
I think I see everything except 6. 6, if you're there, can you point at something brighter?
Camera 1.
Oh yeah, you're
there
there.
we go. Yep.
Thanks, Bobby.
Camera 2's here.
And Andy and
Hey,
John.
hey Colby, on the so there's like two screens. There's like the screen that you look at that has your image, and then there's a screen that's actually physically on the camera, like on the back of it, between the battery and the camera
Gotcha,
body.
Terry.
There's a screen on there. The top
Hey,
left corner, does it say
Brandon.
2997 or does it say 2997 and then something else?
Says 2997.
Okay, cool.
Alright,
I
think
noticed that the
Sarah-
LED light in the inside the piano was
Yes.
flickering on your camera slightly.
Nice.
And sometimes that happens when a different setting gets accidentally bumped, but
Sweet.
if
Thanks,
it says
Jen.
2997, it's
And
fine.
Katie. Thanks, dear. Raise your vocals too. Thanks, bud.
Camera 7
Cool.
here.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Copy 7.
Alrighty. We're gonna have a blessed Sunday morning. Super excited.
All right,
Glad to be
everybody,
here
we're
with you
about
guys.
2 minutes out, 1 minute and 45 to be exact, and then we'll get started with the weekend update. All right, team, as we gear up to get going here, let's just kind of take a moment to pause in this last minute and a half, and yeah, just kind of
Audio's
thank
good
God
to
for
go.
Hey,
how,
Kevin,
where He's got us, and yeah, and what He's going to use us for today.
what do I press
yeah.
to get back to my thing?
Push up on the volume pedal again, like all the way up, and then press a little bit further, and it'll go back to expression that does volume. That makes sense? Use your talk back.
I went to another bank
Oh, okay.
accidentally.
Yeah, so bank 2A, I believe, is Brandon Dumble,
Okay, so I hit that.
and then select A.
Yeah, and then once I hit that, then what?
You should be good. Does it
it's-
say Brandon Dumble at the top?
It says Brandon Dumble, yeah, but then it doesn't say. It doesn't look like normal.
Okay, once the weekend update starts, I'll pop up there and look at it.
Duke, when Logan and Kayla come out, Kayla's completely blocking.
Yep,
Him.
on 4. I saw that.
Do you even want me to set up a shot or not?
You can park it on what the best you can do.
All right, we're going to get
Okay.
started here in 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go video.
Alright, camera 1, you got a while, but do your best to find Brandon in that white coat and keep him framed up.
I think he's on Sarah. She's gonna
What's up, Journey? My name's Scott Wagner, and I lead the MOG men's community. Hey, I wanted to let you all know about the Forged Men's Weekend coming up the third weekend in June. For the last 3 years, we've been taking a group of guys for an off-grid weekend of fellowship, bonding, and, well, doing man stuff. And it's time to do that again this year. We'll be camping, shooting, there'll be archery, fishing, cornhole,
All
guest
good.
speakers, you name it. Look, it doesn't matter if you've been coming to church for 30 years or if this is your first time. This is the event to get connected with other men in the church. Men need a place where we can be honest, be ourselves, connect with, and build each other up. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That doesn't happen without community, and I believe it's our responsibility as men to encourage others around us in their faith. So follow the link on your screen or stop by the Connect table to get registered. June 21st to the 23rd. No excuses. We'll see you there.
Drew, what are you doing?
I'm practicing my flipping skills, ma'am. You know what for?
What for?
Sizzling summer Sundays, baby.
That's not very good grill.
Every Sunday after the 11 a.m. service, we'll be out here with burgers and hot dogs. What else, Drew?
Bring some cash, 'cause it's gonna be cheap.
This is by Journey students, but for everyone. So bring your family, bring your parents, bring your significant other. We want you here, and the students will be helping with serving you, hanging out. All proceeds go to Journey students, and so this summer we are taking a team of students to Bolivia. We're also taking a bunch of students to Movement
Everybody, we've got
Conference,
about 20
and
seconds
just
left
our
in this
normal
video, and
Sunday
then
night
the
activities
worship
that happen
number.
during the school year. So if you buy a burger, your money's gonna go help out the youth group here.
Lauren's got the info, I got the grilling. Sizzling summer Sundays.
All right, one more video. And this first song will be Empty. Sarah will lead. She's going to welcome us and lead it. We're going to start with a welcome by Sarah in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, good morning, Journey. Welcome.
1.
Let's all stand together and
2.
worship.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
On that cross,
All right.
on Calvary's
Ready, 6.
hill,
Take 6.
hope seemed lost.
Ready, 2.
Blood was spilled.
Take 2.
The promise king
Does 5 look dark?
in a tomb.
5 does look dark. Ready, 1. Take 1.
Hell rejoiced,
Thank you, 5.
but heaven
Pre-chorus.
Ready, 6. Take 6.
when the
Ready, 7.
stars
Take 7.
rolled away.
4. Take 4.
There was nothing
Ready, 2.
in that
Take 2.
Chorus.
grave.
All in.
Ready, 5. Take 5.
Empty, the
Ready,
grave
1.
is
Take 1.
empty.
Ready, 4.
No
Take
power
4.
of hell could
Ready,
hold
2.
him
Take 2.
down. The
Ready, 6.
grave
Take
is
6.
empty.
Ready, 1.
My
Take 1.
God is living. Death could not keep
Ready, 7.
him in the ground.
Ready, 5. Take 5.
The grave
Ready, 3.
is
Take 3. Ready,
Verse
1.
2.
Take 1.
the greatest news
Ready, 6.
there's
Take 6.
ever been.
Ready, 2. Take 2.
Darkness lost.
Ready, 7.
Jesus
Take 7.
wins.
4. Take 4.
Shame
Ready, 2. Take 2.
crucified. So celebrate.
Ready, 5. Take 5.
He
Ready, 1. Take 1.
all in. Empty.
Ready, 6. Take 6. take 2. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. 5, take 5. Ready 1, take 1. 2, take 2.
Bridge. Breakdown.
Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 6,
Bridge 2.
take 6.
Slowly build.
Ready 1, take 1. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 2, take 2.
Bridge 3.
Ready 4, take 4. Ready 1, take 1. 7, ready 2, take 2. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 3 on that push, take 3. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 1, take 1. 5, take 5. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 4, thank you, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 7, watch focus. 7, take 7. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 3, take 3. Ready 4, take 4.
Tag.
Ready 1, take 1.
Ending.
7, take 7. Ready 2, take 2.
Next up, got problems. Brandon
1.
starts leading this.
2.
1, pick up Brandon.
Intro.
Take 1.
2, 3, 4.
Ready 6, take 6.
Verse 1.
Ready 1, take 1.
There's just some problems only God can fix.
Ready 7, take 7.
There'll be some moments
Ready
that
6,
just don't make
take 6.
sense.
Ready
I've
2,
seen it happen
take 2.
time and time again.
3, take 3.
There's just some
4,
problems
take
only
4.
Verse 2.
can fix. Yeah.
6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 2, take 2.
Chorus.
5, take 5. Ready 3, take 3. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 4, take, watch focus 4. 4, take 4. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 5, take 5.
Verse 3.
4, take 4.
Drums in.
Ready 1, take 1. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 4, take 4. Nice job on the way. Ready 1, take 1. 2, take 2. Ready 3, take 3. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 5, take 5.
Breakdown.
Ready 1, take 1.
Bridge 1.
6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 4, take 4.
Sorry.
Ready 7, take 7. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 1, 1. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 3, take 3. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 5, 5. Ready 7, 7. 6, take 6. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 1, take 1. 5, take 5. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 3 on a push. 3, your life. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. 6, take 6. Ready 7, take 7. Ready 1, take 1. Ready 5, take 5. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 2, take 2. Ready 1,
Brandon's
take
going to talk next.
Ready 6, take 6. Ready 7, take 7.
All right, 1 tight on Brandon.
Ending.
Ready 2, take 2. 1, you're safe to move on Brandon. 2, you're live. Ready 1, take 1.
Amen. There are lots of scriptures where it talks about, especially we've been studying Job this year, this first part of the year, and we had a songwriting retreat here.
6, get ready for keys. We're gonna come
as
to
we
that
were studying
for some
Job
of this
and
intro.
going through some of the challenges of the year, losing friends or neighbors, coworkers, loved ones, we had a we had a writing session where we wanted to address that, and we wrote this next song called "You Are Good" that is about God's promises to us, and it also addresses when we're going through hard stuff, how we want to question things, and it has some of those questions in there, and then God's response and our acknowledgement of who He is, that we can trust His promises. So let's sing this together.
1, 2,
Ready,
intro,
6,
2,
take 6.
3, 4.
Ready 2, take 2. Ready 1.
Verse
take
1.
6, can you go wider out?
And you did
6.
the
Take 6.
way that I had planned.
Ready, 2.
You were silent
Take
when
2.
I wanted you to speak.
Ready, 5. Take 5.
Oh, I will remember
Ready, 6.
this one.
Take 6.
Chorus.
1.
You
Take
are
1.
good. You are
Five look dark
good.
Zoom
When
out
I
a little
don't know
for 5.
what to pray,
You're fine.
and I don't have words to say.
Ready, 2.
You
Take 2.
are good.
Ready, 6.
You
Take
are
6.
good.
Ready, 7.
When I don't
Take 7.
understand, I can place it in your hands.
4. Can you pick up the guitar? Ready, 1. Take 1.
Verse
4.
2.
Take 4.
Drums in.
Ready, 5. Widen out. Take 5. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Can you frame up both keys?
And I don't have to beg and plead for you.
Ready, 2. Take 2. Thank you, 6. Ready, 6.
To
Take
do
6.
what you already
Ready, 3.
want to do.
Chorus.
Take 3.
Build.
You
Ready, 1.
are
Take 1.
good.
Ready, 5.
You
Take 5.
are good.
Ready, 2. Take
When
2.
I don't know what to
Ready, 7.
say,
Take 7.
and I don't have words
Ready, 4.
to say.
Take 4.
You are good.
Ready, 2. Take 2.
You are good.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
When I
6.
don't understand,
Take 6.
I can place
2.
it in your
Take 2.
hands. You are
Ready, 5. Oh, missed the one.
Bridge 1.
Ready, 4. Take
Slowly
4.
build.
Your will be done.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
Your kingdom
Ready, 5.
come.
Take 5.
Oh, I wanna
Ready, 7.
trust you.
Bridge 2.
Take 7.
Oh,
Build.
I'm gonna trust you.
Take 2.
Your
Ready, 4.
will be done.
Take 4.
No
Ready.
matter what.
1. Take 1.
Oh, I'm gonna trust
Ready, 5.
Bridge 1.
Take
Oh,
5.
I'm gonna trust you. Your
Ready, 2.
will be
Take 2. Ready, 6. Take 6.
Oh, I'm gonna
7.
trust
Take
you.
7.
Bridge 2.
Ready, 4. Take 4.
Trust you.
Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 5. Take 5. Ready, 1. Take 1.
Gonna trust you.
6. Take 6.
I'm
Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 4. Tilt down. Get that guitar again.
Chorus.
Ready, 4.
Breakdown.
Take 4.
are
Ready,
good.
1. Take 1.
You are
Ready, 6.
good.
Take 6.
When I don't know what
Ready,
to
2.
pray,
Take 2.
and I
Ready,
don't
4.
have
Take
words
4.
to say. You are good.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
You
Ready, 3 on the push. Take 3.
good. When I
Ready,
don't
7. Take 7.
understand, I can place
4.
it in
Take
your
4.
hands. You
Ready, 1.
are good.
Take 1. Ready,
Ending.
2. Take 2.
Ready camera for host and
1.
start speaking.
Thank you, 1.
Father God, we acknowledge your goodness. We
Kevin, can I
are
leave this camera
thankful
on the
for who
track
you
mode?
are in our highs and in
so
our
who was
lows,
it?
in our
This is camera
valleys
5
and in our
on the
peaks.
sturdy.
And just ask, Lord, that you would come
It won't
alongside us as
stand up
we
by
try
itself.
and reflect on you today, that we try and grow closer to
So
you
okay, I'll
in
take it
Jesus'
off.
name.
Yeah, I probably just set
Amen.
it separate.
If you would you keep standing for just a second? This is Memorial Day weekend, and when you think about what I just did, I just prayed in front of hundreds of people in a public setting. Online, there are hundreds of people watching. It's going around the world. And that is possible because people sacrificed. And so I just wanted to take like 5 seconds and just stand and just acknowledge that just in silence as we just appreciate what people before us have done.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
Thanks much. If you could, on site, you can go ahead and have a seat. And if you're joining us online, we are excited that you are part of our Sunday gathering as well, I wanted to just talk briefly about next steps. And we talk about next steps all the time. And I don't want it to become something that you tune out, because the reason we talk about taking your next spiritual step weekend after weekend after weekend is because it is foundational to faith. That we would be people that as we come before God, as we come before Christ, that we want to be transformed and changed. That is what the faith journey that we're on is all about. And so as we talk about that in our family, we use that term next steps. What is your next step? What is your next spiritual step? Each of us have one. It doesn't matter if we've had 50,000 steps to this point or 2. We each have a next step spiritually. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple of those. One would just be, if you're someone who is not consistent with your Bible reading, that might be your next step. You might want to be thinking or praying about, is my next step to get consistent around my Bible reading? And we offer a way to do that. We have a Bible reading plan that is kind of ongoing. We have a new one starting on June 1st. It's a 60-day plan. And what a great way to build a habit that you want to build spiritually. Just getting into the plan, you can use the QR code on screen, and you can just follow along with hundreds of other people that are part of the Journey family that are reading the same scripture, talking about this scripture as we go through a Bible reading plan. So if that's something that would be helpful to you, we would love for you to participate in that. Another potential next step, if you've not been baptized, we do have an opportunity coming on June 23rd. We have our summer river baptisms, not here on stage like we do at Easter or in the fall, but in the summer we actually go to the Gallatin River and we actually baptize in the river. So if you've not yet been baptized, all baptism is a public declaration saying that I am a follower of Jesus, and I want to say that in a public fashion, and we do that via baptism, and that goes all the way back to the days of Jesus, and we want you to be a part of that if you haven't taken that next step. There's numerous next steps that could be yours that I haven't mentioned. Whatever it is, I would just encourage you as you are processing and thinking about what is going to be talked about this morning or what we are worshiping about or praying about, what is my next step? Make it personal. What is your next step in your spiritual journey? Now with that, we will begin week 3 of our series on relationships.
Stand by for video. Go video. Good job, everybody. Thank you so much. We are going to come out for the sermon here in just a little bit. 30 seconds. Just a reminder, this is Logan and Kayla. And 3, 2, 1, let's go speaking.
I can remember it felt like such a long time in the waiting before, kind of in between the space of when I knew that I was going to pursue my degree to become a therapist, and when it actually happened. It was actually about 5 years in the waiting due to life and marriage and a lot of other things that kind of delayed the process. So to say the least, there was a lot of anticipation and great excitement when I finally enrolled in my program to pursue counseling at Denver Seminary. And I was so excited, wasn't I, Logan? I had
like a kid on the first day of school.
Highlighters and my backpack already.
Get your lunchbox ready.
I think I was reading the material even before class started,
What a nerd.
definitely wasn't the case at the end of my program, right? Who reads their books before? But I couldn't get enough of it. I was so excited. I was like, this is how God's wired me. This is how he's created me. I cannot wait. And so I can remember the first class I had was basically a foundations class of counseling, how to be a therapist. And I was like, just tell me what I need to do. Like, I'm so excited to do the thing. And my professor, Dr. Wilson, broke us off into partners where we were going to practice these skills. And so the very first skill may surprise you as it surprised me. And so I remember getting in the room with my partner, and the very first thing that we were told to do was to just sit. So we were actually told just to focus on our posture and our presence in the room, almost uncomfortably so. I remember I had to sit like this.
Back straight.
Yes, and just become aware of this awkward position.
Yeah. Am I doing a good job?
Yes, you're doing it great,
Okay.
which my clients will probably laugh because I definitely don't sit like this anymore. But we're talking about listening today, and I'm so excited that Logan invited me in on this conversation. And I couldn't help but reflect back on my experience of becoming a therapist, and I do think there's something there, right, of our kind of posture and presence. So I kind of want to lead this conversation in the sense of what if our posture and presence is the beginning of listening, understanding, and loving those around us.
So there's obviously a reason she's up here, right? That's pretty good. Is there any talkative people in the room? Can we raise our hands?
Take two.
Okay. I'm a recovering talker myself. Okay. So you're in a safe space. And so when Bob asked, hey, we know that listening has a huge piece of relationships.
So important, vital.
Right. And when Bob said, hey, Logan, you want to talk about listening? I was like, yes. I'm going to struggle. But I'm getting better. But I wanted to kill it because you obviously were married. Obviously we're married, and
Yes, we
but this series is not about marriage necessarily. It's about all of our relationships, and it's essential to listen in relationships like marriage, but also in our friendships, in our parenting, with our coworkers.
Yeah.
And I think as we even were talking with people in the hall before this, going, we're bad at listening. Most people aren't naturally wired toward it, or if you even would say you've grown so much in your skill of how to learn.
Right.
And a part of that is starting with our posture and a presence.
Yes, and by all means, I can grow at it too.
Yes.
And we just want to preface this conversation on listening in the sense of this is not just listening for information.
Right.
You guys all know that. Logan and I, it's so funny in our marriage, we go, hey, new information, by the way. It's very like detailed oriented. This kind of listening we're going to talk about this morning is a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah, because if we think if God's going to, the story is, or the series is called Restoring Us. If God's going to begin that work of restoring our relationships, we got to get better at listening.
Yes.
Right? So there's times to say, hey, we're out of milk. Can you bring some home? Like I don't need to be like, I see you. I know what you mean. That's empathy. No, like there's time for details. There's time just to have some dialogue or talk about the game. But that's not where conflict is, right? That's not what Bob was talking about, conflict or frustration or those kind of things. We need to learn how to listen when these people are really being vulnerable or opening ourselves up. Because that's where they either come to see you or they come to see me when things, because we hear that all the time, well, they're not listening, right? My friends don't get me. My kids, they don't listen to me anymore. And so there's something where we hear that from every generation.
Yes.
Every type of relationship.
Because on the opposite side of that, I think we can all agree what it feels like to be loved and understood and seen and cared for through when someone does do listening really well. Yeah. That's the type of listening we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. So you've talked about posture.
Yes.
And we don't mean just physical posture.
Yes,
we mean like our posture of our hearts and what that looks like. So this is kind of like a test for us of just say, hey, what is my posture? And we're going to go through a quick list, things that we've kind of experienced ourselves. And this might be the practical piece, and we'll talk about where this is biblically right after this. But you may not catch yourself in the moment. Like, this is okay. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, I'm not listening right now. And if you do, which you can also, I know I caught myself this week as we're talking about this. I'm like, I'm not listening very good.
You guys, this was so helpful for us.
Yes, it was.
To just be curious of like, oh, Logan, what was that? Why didn't you listen? Wait a minute. And on my end as well of like, oh, what got in the way of that? So this list that we're going to go into may be in hindsight. It may be after the fact where you feel like there was a disconnect, right? Where someone didn't feel seen, heard, or understood. So let's get into it. So let's check our posture that goes far beyond just our physical posture.
So the first one is this: am I fully present or distracted?
Yeah.
Pretty clear cut right there, right?
Yes. I mean, this goes as far as your phone. Lately, my watch, when it goes off with people, I feel like that's such a distraction that shows that I'm not being fully present to them. Could you name some more, Logan?
I think even like maybe not have the heart-to-heart, deep felt conversation like in a big crowded room, right? Like
Right.
if you're with a group of people, with your friends at a restaurant, it may not be the best time, like if a lot of background noise and stuff like that. Like, so am I just distracted by what's going on? Maybe a really hard day. Like I remember when you first was a therapist coming home, and I would just be so excited to talk to you, and I didn't give you space. And I remember you'd be like, hey, I just heard like the worst things people could do to each other for like 7 hours. Can you give me like a few minutes? I'm like, yes, I can. But I wasn't like, I was just like thinking you were distracted and being unkind to you in that moment. But I think how often we do that to one another, where we just think, oh, I don't have their attention, but maybe they just had a hard day. Maybe they had a lot going on, and maybe they just need a little time.
Yeah, and again, we can't control all of these, but the things that we can control, such as hectic days or phones, like let's do our best to kind of be present in that way.
Yeah.
So the next one is, am I loving or judging? The way that I kind of see this one is pretty simple, because if I'm immediately judging that person, I'm definitely not listening.
Right.
So kind of just being open to the sense of, man, is my posture loving of this person, or am I just judging? And because as soon as we judge, we're definitely not listening.
Right, and a good way to just test if you're judging something is just like, well, that's stupid. I can turn my brain off now, right? Like if I just don't agree with something someone's saying, then I might just think, oh, well, I don't have to listen to the rest of it, right? I just tune them out, and that's not really listening. And if, as believers, if we actually believe everybody in this room and online is an image bearer, that they have value because God said so, we don't get to deem people's value. That's God who's done that, right? That's what Scripture says. Then I don't get to just tune someone out if I don't like what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll talk more about what we do with that, but we can still be loving towards them.
And I like that you said, Logan, it can happen in an instant, right? Of like, as soon as I feel that little bit of judgment creep up in me for whatever reason, various reasons, it's like all of a sudden it's out. Like I am not listening.
Yeah.
And that goes really well into our next one, which is, am I open or closed to being changed? Again, if Logan says, if we're all image bearers, right, that means we all have inherent worth inside of us given to us by God, right? And if I'm not seeing that in another person, I'm kind of not being open to being changed by them. If there's just one thing I could potentially be curious about in them or grow from our conversation versus like I'm just closed off, I don't need to hear it.
Yep.
I've heard this before. Whatever it is that closes us off. Again, that builds that wall that shows that we're not in a posture position to listen or hear.
Yeah. Someone said to me a long time ago, and I wish I could give them credit, but I just remember them saying, try to find 1% of what they're saying to be true, right? Give someone the benefit of the doubt. Is there 1% of something I heard that is maybe I can take away? And that's kind of helped me, because I'm like, this is a terrible conversation. I don't agree with any of this, but like, okay, but 1% of this I can get behind, and it gives them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I like that.
What about the next one? I say this one because this is me. I'm a fixer. Am I trying to fix or offer solutions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which there is a time and space for that, right? And I think Logan and I, in our relationships, there's been time where I have to like communicate, like, no, Logan, I need you to fix this right now.
Yeah.
Like, actually, it would be so helpful if you offered solutions. On the opposite end of that is it maybe, no, I just need you to feel this.
Right.
So the kind of, do you need to feel it or fix it? That can go such a long way. Because again, there's a space for solutions that's not inherently wrong by any means. But are we going quick to that because we're uncomfortable?
Right. I mean, we've probably had you can think of you're like a roommate situation, and you go through a breakup, and maybe in that moment you don't need to be said, well, hey, there's more fish in the sea. It's like, thanks, awesome, thank you for that. Or like, you don't make the team or whatever it might be, and you're like, well, there's always next year, like you just say these things, and they almost come out of us so quickly, as opposed to just kind of sitting with somebody, which I think kind of leads in that next one of, am I uncomfortable with empathy or what they're saying?
Right.
Because sometimes we just don't, I get uncomfortable with like, oh, there's tears, I don't know what to do with this, right? And as Christians, sometimes we're really bad at this, right? Because we want to like throw some Jesus on it. Like we want to like
spiritual Band-Aid
we're
of
like,
sorts to a deep wound.
Yes.
That it's like, again, yes, that's true. I feel like I've heard them towards me, towards others. And it's like, is that true about God? Absolutely. But in this moment, I actually need you to kind of mourn and grieve and be with me in the hard.
Yep.
Versus like, oh,
Yep, like just pray about it. And you're like, yes, I know to pray about it. Thank you. That's very
Yes.
helpful. But also maybe this moment, like I don't need to hear that 10 seconds after I told you the deepest thing I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe just hold that a little bit. And we're going to see that that is scriptural, right? I think we're
Right.
just arguing for maybe a little bit better
Yes.
way than just a Jesus Band-Aid, as you
Right.
said.
No
Yeah.
Jesus Band-Aids
Yeah.
here. But I see that all the time of like our own uncomfortability,
Mm-hmm.
again, with what's being talked about. And just almost like I feel like people kind of can go about it of like, I'm so fearful I'm going to say the wrong thing. And in that sense, maybe it's like, okay, then maybe you don't have to say anything at all. Maybe that's all part of it.
Yeah. And lastly, another one I'm guilty of is it easier for me just to get to the next thing I need to say, right? Kayla could be saying something, or maybe you're with a colleague and it brings up that story or something in your mind, and you think, this is so relevant. And maybe it's not, like maybe they don't need to hear about that one time in college, how this totally applies, because it may just not. It just may not at all.
Yeah. And again, this is not about perfection. We are not perfect at listening at all. It's just, again, being able to start this conversation of being curious and aware of your posture and your presence when it comes to listening. Because in fact, it kind of can translate to it does translate to our relationships and how we're coming across. So again, it's just being curious of like, what's kind of coming up in me, and it probably won't get any more practical than this.
Yeah. I mean, if you can kind of look at that and maybe even think about some of the interactions you've had this week. You've had chances to listen to your spouse, your neighbor, your colleague, someone you didn't agree with, a peer, a teacher, whatever it might be, and you can maybe even look at this list and be like, ooh, I think if we're all being honest, everybody in this room could be like, I got some work to do. I got some areas I could get better at this. Pete Scazzaro, author and pastor, said it this way: the state that you're in is the state that you're giving others, right? So if I am distracted, hurried, not having time, just want to fix things really quick because I need to move on to the next thing, again, it's not about perfection, but I'm giving that to someone else. And again, that probably leads to us not feeling very heard, loved, seen, or listened to at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, so as Logan and I were diving into this, we want to just point to Jesus as our ultimate example. And it was kind of tricky to pick just one verse because it was kind of a beautiful thing to look at Jesus's posture and his presence when it came to listening to those around him. And so it's not just one verse, it's really all of the gospel that you see this in him. But let's go ahead and talk about Jesus's pace that he sets for us to follow as an example for listening and being aware of those around us.
Yeah, first thing is just think about the stories you heard in Sunday school or in your own Bible reading plan this year. Did you remember reading a verse where it said Jesus was running from town to town? Do you remember that passage? I'll wait, because you won't find it, right? It seems like sometimes even maybe Jesus is maybe at bad directions for some reason. He's always going across a lake, back across a lake. It's like
bad GPS.
Did he miss something? I don't know. But no, Jesus is going to and fro and back, and he's walking through towns. He's talking to people
He's eating with people. I love that we always see in
There's
Scripture.
always food. There's
a great quote of Jesus was always on the way to a meal or leaving a meal or having a meal.
That's my kind of guy.
A meal takes time, right?
There's no fast food here.
No, there's no fast food, Jesus.
Yeah. He's always walking. He's taking time with people. There's people around him. There's a pace to Jesus' life that leads, it's part of his posture, right? These interactions, the healings, the miracles, the teaching, they happen sometimes when we least expect it. And there's just you used the word yesterday, margin. There's margin for this to happen. And that doesn't happen. We have to check our pace. So I'd ask you, if you're like, I'm a bad listener, what's your pace like? Are you just cramming your day where it's like, yeah, kid, tell me. Okay, yeah, that's wonderful, honey. And you're just telling them at dinner. Or, you have so many, I think even, how much friends, we try to hold all of our friendships, and we were like, Facebook tells me I have 3,000 friends, and I'm supposed to know all their feelings and be everything to them. That's impossible. That's impossible, right? And secondly is that it leads into that as being unhurried.
Right.
And we were thinking about a couple passages that led to that, but the first was in Mark 5. Kayla, would you like to read that?
Yeah, let's do it. So this is in Mark 5, 30 through 34. And it says, at once Jesus realized that the power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you ask who touched me. I just want to pause there. The disciples were like, probably all of us, in the sense of they were like, Jesus, what do you mean? Like, we got to keep going.
Yeah, he's on the way to
He's on
emergency, right? There's a miracle that needs to be done.
Yes. And so you can already see the pace of the disciples were much quicker of like, Jesus, we got to go. Like, we don't have time for this. And I love in verse 32, it says, but Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet. And trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering.
Yeah.
I love this because I think about what if Jesus was in a crowd just just kind of in this space with us today. And just everybody who would want to touch him or kind of reach out to him. And how chaotic that would have been. And yet Jesus, in the midst of all of that, was so aware. He took the time, and it was in his posture and his presence that he noticed the woman who risked out to touch him.
Yeah.
And we know she had been bleeding for a while. She was so desperate to be seen, and Jesus takes the time to see her.
Right, he doesn't see her, right. He feels the power leave him,
Yeah.
it says, maybe touches his garment, but we don't know, like he doesn't know, so he keeps looking, and you can almost imagine like the crowd's pushing him still, but he's still looking like, what's going on? There was someone that touched me, and I'm gonna stop and look, even though he's got busy, important stuff to do, right? And I think so often when I don't listen to whether you or our boys or for my friends or my colleagues, it's because I'm like, well, I got important things to do. And that's not Jesus. Like I can say, well, I got important Jesus stuff to do. Well, no, like I still have to have the time to be unhurried to listen. It's similar to this in Luke 19. This is a famous passage, Zacchaeus, right? They're probably singing about him in base camp right now, the wee little man. But this is in verse 3, right? He says he wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was so short, he could not see over the crowd. And that's not just because we're tall that we're picking on him, sorry. But so he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. And when Jesus reached that spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. And I just think about this story, Kayla, it's interesting because, yes, he's small in stature, so it would have been easy to overlook him, but also because of who he was. Now, we know he's a tax collector. He's looked down upon.
Yeah.
No one wanted to give him the time of day.
Right, I did not
He was the kind of person you would think, I have
this
no
problem
reason to listen
happening.
to him.
I need
But
to
yet
put up a parent
Jesus
call, and that's gonna
looks
fall
up,
right
sees
on
him, and it says he came to that
Logan's
spot.
face.
So there was some spot that Jesus knew.
So, if
Again,
we
one
can
in the
keep
midst
camera
of his
2 on broadcast,
journey in ministry,
and then
he
camera
sees the
1,
person that no
can
one
you
wants to
just
give time to.
tilt up
And he
ever
tells
so
him,
slowly
hey,
until I say
come down here. I
stop.
want to spend some time with you.
Oh, I love that he invites
Tilt up
himself
just a little
over.
bit. No, tilt
Yeah.
up. Just tilt.
For another
I
feel.
love that.
Like, hey, can you
Just add
He's
more
like,
headroom.
hey, you don't think you're seen,
Yeah, just add more headroom.
right? And
going,
I want to
keep
come
going.
over to your house to eat.
Yeah.
Like that kind
Nope,
of being
nope,
seen
don't
and
zoom.
heard and
Just
listened
tilt.
to.
So
that kind of
push the
margin,
camera down so there's more headroom.
to see him.
And it's interesting because
Have his waist in the bottom of the
on
frame.
his
Yes,
way to
camera one.
Jerusalem. Like this is later in Jesus' ministry. Like he's about to go to the
Keep
cross.
going,
He's
up,
about
up,
to
up.
enter Jerusalem later in this chapter. And yet before that, like if there's anything else, you'd be like, sorry, got to go to the cross for everyone's sin
Like,
right
what's
now.
Yeah, just give Logan
Like,
more headroom.
what's more
Some
important
more
than
room
that?
above
He
his
takes
head.
time to hang out with the guy that no one likes and no one sees.
Yeah.
And yet says that salvation has come to your house. Like there's a life-changing moment. And yes, we see some of Jesus' words, but we also see him just, like you said, it's our
slightly
posture,
we're
it's our
gonna go
time, it's our presence, it's lean in for
Up
understanding. Because
like
everybody had,
that,
they thought they
and
had
then
Zacchaeus figured
just
out, right? They thought,
push
okay, I know
down on
who
the
he
camera,
is.
don't
He's
push
beyond
down.
help. Jesus,
So let go of the camera
Jesus
altogether.
says otherwise.
There's no way.
Laura, let
No
go of
way.
the camera.
It's not him.
Just
I
let go.
love this quote by David
Just let go. Just
Augustberger.
let go.
It's from Caring Enough to Hear.
Pick your hand up.
It says, being heard is
Yep,
so
just leave it there.
close to being
Thanks.
loved
Mhm.
that for the average person, they're almost indistinguishable. When I want to genuinely love
Perfect.
someone, the best
Stay
gift
here
I
for a
can
second.
give is to listen authentically.
Mm.
I love this idea of actually listening being tied to love. Because again, we all know what that feels like to be heard and seen and therefore loved. But also, I love this idea that it's a gift.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like it takes, like, I think we all agreed we
Alright,
can do
parent
better at
is head
listening.
back, so
and
Laura,
yet,
you can
it is
just
such
tilt
a
back
gift
down to exactly how you
others.
had it
And something
before.
that I've recognized how God's hardwired in
Laura's
me
headroom. Yep.
to be a good listener is actually a gift to those
Perfect.
around
All
me.
right.
Mm.
And I think you all are fully
great.
capable of that as well.
Yeah, I think we can either say, well, I'm not wired that way.
Right.
And that's really, I think it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out for me. I could be like, well, sorry, I just have a hard time paying attention. But no, that's not the case because you talked about David, but King David said this way in Proverbs 18. He says, "Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions." To answer before listening, that is folly and that is shame.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in this room, you're like, I have a hard time doing this. The Bible would call us we're foolish if we just act like we don't want to lean in for understanding. And I don't think anybody in this room or online wants to be a fool. I don't want to be a fool. So I need the work of God to help me. I need a miracle, just like we've talked about. I need God to help me become a better listener or to fine tune that skill that maybe you're wired with.
Right.
But something that came up for us even as we were doing this is like even our definition of listening sometimes can be skewed,
Yes.
right? Like it's sometimes when I hear listening, I have maybe like a goal that comes out of it, right? For me growing up, when I heard listening, it was like listening means obedience, like listen to your father, right? Like that's all that listening meant.
Right.
So it was tied to performance or obedience, and there's a time for that, right?
Absolutely. There's a time for that. That's not the case.
Not like, yeah.
But also this idea that I see a ton is that listening is agreeing. I kind of like with families that come in, there's a huge disconnect of mom and dad aren't feeling seen and heard. The teenager or my client isn't feeling seen or heard or loved. And we kind of have to run through what is our running definitioning actually of listening. And to each I say, is it just that they do what you want them to do? Or is it that for the teenager, like, is it just that you get what you want?
Right.
Because listening is so much more than that in the sense of I believe that it has to be out of this relational connection that we can kind of adhere to versus just agreeing. Like, I do think it is possible. I know this feels like, is it? It is possible to both listen but not agree. I think we can do that, and I think we can all do a much better job at it too. But it is possible that listening is not just agreeing.
Right. There might be times you do agree with somebody, but for parents in the room, hey, when I feel that tension, like, well, if I listen too much when my kids say that, it's almost like I'm encouraging that behavior. No, we're not saying that. We're not saying like we don't have to agree with the behavior or their action, or teenagers in the room or young adults in the room who you're like, well, if you think, well, listening means I get what I want, that's not listening. That's getting what you want, right? Let's be clear. Your parents may be listening to you and maybe still telling you no, that's okay. Just as much, and like parents, you're allowed to say no. Or in healthy relationships, you're allowed to have boundaries. It doesn't mean you're like, okay, I'll just be trampled over and okay, I just need to listen to them and love them. No, we don't have to necessarily agree,
right.
But I can still give you the gift of trying to understand you, listen to you, and we still may have different beliefs or understanding of stuff.
Yes.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
So what's a better definition?
Yeah, so kind of what I found that kind of sums up all of this is this idea of attunement. And that may be a new word for you this morning. And it's kind of a buzzword in kind of the mental, emotional world. But from Dr. Dan Siegel, who is, he is kind of leading in this field right now, he kind of says attunement is this. It's like when we attune with others, we allow our internal state to shift, to come to resonate with the inner world of another. This renaissance is at the heart of the important sense of feeling felt that emerges in close relationships. He goes on to say children need attunement to feel secure and to develop well. And then throughout our lives, we also need attunement to feel close and connected. I love that because it starts in infancy. It starts with baby Huck, who before he has words or language, I'm able to attune to what he needs. And again, it's not, as he learns and grows and develops, it may not be giving him what he needs all the time, but knowing that I know what's best for him, right? And I love that this goes on of like, we all need that to grow and to develop, and that doesn't go away. Like, we all need attunement in our relationships and in our adult relationships even now.
Right. It's something that could be happening at childhood, but it goes on with us through our life. You're saying like even the lack of being heard or understood or listened or being attuned to is that word in the counseling world. But there's actually some ripple effects of this, right? Because you could you and I have both had people in our, like with me as a pastor or you as a therapist, and it's like, man, some of this is because they've never felt known, loved, connected, and it's bleeding into all their types of relationships, whether it be parent, peer,
Yeah.
romantic. Yeah.
Yeah, because the opposite of attunement, right, is we're not attuned, we're not seen, we're not loved, we're not listened to, we're disconnected, we're isolated, we're angry, right?
Sounds like the world right now.
We feel wronged or not heard or not seen. And I kind of summed up attunement as it sums up our posture and our presence when it comes to listening. And it says, I may not agree with you, but it will always be, I see you. It may not always be, I'm going to give you what you want, but it'll always be, I can offer you presence in your time and need. And attunement's not just a word in my field. I see attunement in a biblical sense as well. Through the scriptures we just read, right?
Yeah.
Jesus being attuned to the people around him.
Right.
And I also see it in Romans 12:15 when it says we rejoice with those who we rejoice with those who rejoice, and we weep with those who weep.
Yeah.
And what better story to summarize this idea of attunement than in John 11, when Jesus mourns with Mary and Martha before he raises Lazarus.
Yeah.
So we know that Jesus knows he's about to raise him from the dead. He knows that the miracle's coming, and yet he weeps with them. He doesn't say stop crying because I'm about to raise him from the dead, right?
He still speaks truth to him, right?
He speaks truth of like, you will see him again.
Yes.
But then he mourns with them, right? He doesn't rejoice before it was time, right? He mourns with them. And again, he doesn't say, I'm just going to fix this, Mary and Martha. Just wait. I'm going to offer the solution.
Right.
No, far from that. He's attuned with them in the sense of, no, I'm going to mourn with you. And Jesus weeps.
Yeah. Even in the passage, we don't have it on the screen today, but just if you look at that story in John 11, it's interesting. It's 44 verses long, this interaction. And in a better summary, I think it's like, Jesus get over it. I'm going to go heal him. We'll be fine, right? Like that's a very abridged. That's not listening. But Jesus, for the first 16 verses, it talks about his death and the emotions behind it. Then verses 17 through 37 are all about how he's comforting them. There's 20 verses of this dialogue of how he's comforting them on the way to the miracle that he knows he's going to do. And then we have this interaction where he actually does raise him up. And you were kind of sharing of like, isn't that interesting that Jesus, we have the story of Jesus, and it's not a quick
Laura,
story.
if you want to
Shows
just
it matters.
It shows it matters that we
Clearly.
listen and we sit with people, and he gives them answers, but it's also, it seems like it's more about how he's walking with these people he loved. Even in I think it's in verse 5, it says that Jesus loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus.
All
It makes it
right,
really
sing
clear
it
that he
back
loves
down. You can
all
tilt
three
down.
of them, right? And so he's doing what's best for all three of them. He will make things right, and that's what he does with our relationships.
Yeah.
And he uses us to do that, but he gives us a model to just
Right.
maybe sit with people.
Yeah, I had this thought this week as we were prepping, like, I don't think Mary and Martha would have understood the full extent of Jesus' love and compassion and care had he rushed to rejoicing.
Yeah.
Or had he been dismissing or judging of like, how dare you cry? Or,
Get over it.
or far worse, if Jesus was even distracted or absent.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wouldn't have felt loved and seen and attuned to by Jesus.
And yet these are the two women that everybody else leaves, but they're there with him at the cross, right? They're there with him at the empty tomb. Like these are women who, a lot of people had a lot of feelings about Jesus and they got scared, but there was something about being felt, known, and loved and understood. But that these women, they seem to be very loyal to Jesus all the time. Like they're not willing to be embarrassed to be seen by him, and they always have their faith in him. So it must have made an impact, is another way to say it. And
yeah, I go back to this idea of what I said in that quote of like, attunement is feeling felt and it's necessary for growth in our lives to develop well.
Right.
And kind of where we're gonna land the plane today is like, I'm not sure if we can give this gift of listening. As we said, it's a gift of listening. It's a gift of love, right? If we haven't first received it ourselves.
Right. Bob made a connection, I think, in the week one where just saying, we often see our relationship with God is kind of, at least it's on parallel tracks with our relationship with people, right? If we have rocky relationships or our human relationships are in disorder or we don't know how to do them well, then often we kind of bring that in with God, one way or the other, maybe consciously or unconsciously, or maybe the way we treat people with God, or we think he treats us. And even what was helpful for us this week was you asked me a question of like, well, Logan, what would it be like if God was sitting with you? You know, and I hadn't really thought about that. Like, what would that be like? And what would he? But it was so helpful to me realize that his posture and his presence, it made me want to follow him more. It made me want to love him more.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where we want to land today, is talking about God's posture with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you asked me a good question too of like, Kayla, you often are like, how do you do it? Like, how do you sit with people? And I get that a ton.
Natalie, let's leave this up for an extended
And I
time.
think even in prepping this, I noticed that
pray,
man,
we'll probably
my
take it down.
ability, again, I'm not perfect by any means, but my ability to sit with people to the extent that I'm able to only comes through me having
So Laura,
sat
just a
with
reminder, when
God
she
and
stands up, go ahead
recognizing
and
how he
slowly
listens to
zoom
me,
in on
how he
just
attunes
Kayla.
himself to me.
Then once the table
And
and
out
chairs
of
are
that
out,
posture,
we'll go
that
zoom out
his
to include
presence with me,
Lo-
I kind of can give
once she
it
stands
as a
up.
gift to others because I know that's what
Who?
he does
Camera
for
one
me.
or camera two?
just camera one.
Right. So that's what we want to end today with, is a chance just to, because I know, I believe this as I was prepping this week, and we were saying, man, there's a reality that some people in this room, maybe they haven't been listened to very well.
All right, let's take this
Or
slide
they
down.
feel like, maybe you in this room, you feel like, man, God just hasn't heard me. And we even sang that song about, a lament song about, God, you didn't answer the prayer like I thought you would. You didn't come and speak fast enough. And there's moments where we feel like that, but, and we need God's answers, and we need his promises, and those are wonderful and good, but often it's helpful to understand, like, God sits with us. What he did for Mary and Martha is good.
And
he
that's-
does it for us.
And that's the same God, that's the same Jesus who does that with us today, even though this is centuries ago.
Yes.
For us to have this right
camera
understanding
seven,
of
camera
who
six,
he is
welcome
and
back.
that he
You can see
does
some
that with
stuff.
us so that we can do that for the sake of others.
Yeah.
Camera
So in
5,
order
you're a
for
little
us to
dark.
listen to
If
others,
you're here,
we
can you point
first have
towards
to
something
listen
brighter,
to God.
just so I
And
see
not
ya?
just, again, listening to just obey him. And there's a time to do that, but also his
Copy.
presence.
See
and his
some movement.
posture.
Thank you. All
Towards
right,
us.
everyone's
Towards us.
back.
Yeah,
Thanks again.
how he is with us. And so that's how we're going to end today. And just like you mentioned, it might be uncomfortable. We're not going to do anything weird. Our rule with youth
Let's
ministry is
take
always
Camera
don't
One
make it weird. You know
broadcast.
that. We're not going to make it weird,
No.
but just a chance to be like,
This live
just reflect
broadcast.
and sit and think about what it would be like for God, that he is walking with you right now with your season. He is listening
3,
to
thanks
you.
for parking it on that shot.
Prayers
Used it a
spoken or
couple times.
unspoken.
Yeah.
He hears them.
Yeah, it may be, there may be some of you that were just as eager
Let's not
as
use
I
3
was,
for the prayers.
Yeah.
This thing was
right,
keeping on
going
camera one,
into
so
my
we cut
degree,
out
and
the
it may
people
feel
grabbing stuff.
anticlimactic.
Copy, I heard
that
you that. With
potentially
that
what
earlier.
is, like, maybe it is just this simple of I'm just sitting and being in his presence.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage you. So I'm going to lead us in kind of like this reflective prayer. I don't think anything I'm going to say is magical by any means, but honestly, it's just a gift for you to receive, because I really, really thought that this was
Camera 2,
important, that if we're
take 2.
to be great listeners to those around us, we first have to experience that in our relationship with God, do we not? So, all right.
Camera 1 will go to you
Amen.
on the
Let's
slow
do
push
it.
when she starts praying.
Go ahead and take one on
Camera 1,
broadcast.
take 1.
So wherever you are, I just want you to get comfortable.
Helps the
I just
family push
ask
the
for
like
you
button
to
once.
create space just with you and God. Whether you're chaotic or stressed,
Thanks,
just
one.
start to
Frame it up.
notice what may be getting in the way of you being with Jesus. I just want you to take this time to notice his presence and his posture towards you. That he's not far, that he's not angry, that he's not shaming you. I want you to notice a Jesus who sits with you. And perhaps there's something you'd like to say to him. Maybe you just notice the look on his face,
Camera 2,
that
take
he's
2.
loving and compassionate, that he takes time to see you, that he attunes to you and your needs. We're just going to go through and put ourselves in the scriptures that we read today. So, Lord, I put myself in the scripture of Mark 5, of the woman who was so desperate for healing that she risked being seen by you. God, those in this room that are desperate to be seen and healed, that they would risk reaching out to touch you, God. I pray that you would see their efforts to move towards you, God, as you're moving towards them. Father, let them be seen by you, that you take notice of their reaching, that you see them and you attend to them. God, I also think of Zacchaeus, who was short in stature and went the distance to climb a tree,
Just a reminder,
God.
Logan is going to invite people to stand,
Lord, I pray
and
for
then we'll
those
start
who
worship.
feel small
So
and
make sure to preview your
insignificant,
first
whether
camera
that's in
before hitting start
self-esteem or
worship.
self-worth. God, I think of all those who feel inadequate,
Should I
or
zoom
even
out
if something
when it-
disqualifies us.
Yeah, you can go ahead. and
Lord,
zoom all the
attune
way out.
yourself
Yeah,
to
one is
them.
on broadcast.
Lord, let them see you looking
two,
at
you're
them
safe. You can zoom out.
and inviting yourself over to fill those spaces where we feel small. God, I also think about all those who mourn in this room like Mary and Martha. God, we all have grievances, both big and small, God. Whether that's a true loss, or maybe it's just a loss of expectation or reality of what we thought life would look like, God.
Camera
You
two,
see all of
take
these
two.
grievances. God, you know how the miracle is going to come and what it will look like, yet you don't rush to rejoicing before mourning with us. Let my friends who are mourning receive the gift that you are grieving with them and are able to withstand the heavy burdens of grief they carry. God, you are our model for listening, and we must have a right understanding of who you are so that we can listen well to those around us. Lord, you attune yourself to us so that we may do the same. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Journey, would you go ahead and stand,
All right, stand by
as we continue in worship together?
and start worship.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, 6. Find some keys.
Verse 1.
Take 6.
I know who I am.
Camera 2,
'Cause
take
I
2.
know who you are.
Cam 1.
The cross
Take 1.
of salvation was
Three.
only
Take 3.
the start. And now
7.
I am
Take 7.
chosen,
Camera
free
6.
and forgiven.
Take 6.
I have a
1.
future,
Take 1.
and it's worth living.
Chorus.
I was made to be tending a
Take
grave. I
4.
was called by name,
Camera 2.
born
Take 2.
and raised back to life again.
5.
I was made for more.
Take 5.
Why would I make
1. Take 1.
bed in my shame when a
6.
fountain of grace
Keeps the
is
fingers. There we
running
go. Take 6.
my way? I know I am yours.
7.
I was
Take 7.
made for more.
Verse 2.
1.
I
Take
know
1.
who I
5. Take 5.
am, 'cause I know who you are.
Ready 2. Take 2.
Cross of salvation was
4.
only
Take 4.
the start.
Camera 2, can you zoom in, frame on Brandon on the left, the lady singer in the jean jacket on your right? Just push in on them. There you go. Camera 1, take 1. 2, keep zooming in. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 5. Take 5.
Is that good?
Take 1. Yep, thank you 2. Ready 2. Take 2. Take 7. 6. Take 6. 1. Take 1. 5. Take 2. Take 2. 37. Take 7.
Bridge. Slowly build.
31. Take 1. 35. Take 5. Take 2. 36. Take 6. 31. Take 1.
Bridge.
7. Take 7. 5. Take 5. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Take 3. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 5. Take 5. 7. Take 7. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 4. 4 on the guitar.
Drums.
4. Take 4.
Hits.
1. Take 1. 5. Take 5. 4 stay on the guitar. 4 take 4. 2 take 2. 7 take 7.
Chorus.
5 take 5. 2 take 2. 6 take 6. 4 take 7 take 7. 6. 4. Take 4. Ready, 2. Take 2.
So why would I make
7.
a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running
Keep
my
both hands up,
way?
right?
I know I
There you
am
go.
yours.
6. Take 6.
Ending.
Camera 1, get ready for
Ready, 1.
host. Close.
Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. 1, you're safe. Pick up.
1, you're safe. Yep. And go close. Start speaking.
Journey, we
Camera
get
1.
to worship a God who sees us, who understands us, and He's wired us to be that.
Good job,
be the hands and
everybody.
feet
Just a
for others.
reminder,
So it's
we'll
for
huddle
His
upstairs in
name, for the
5
sake of
minutes. I'd
others
love
that
for
we become
everybody to be there. Thanks.
better listeners. So wherever you are, if you're a recovering talker like me or a naturally wired listener, I pray that God will meet you in that and we can be a blessing to others this week. Special thanks to my wife for helping us out. Can I give her a hand real quick? Is it okay? Yeah. Yeah, she has her own work schedule and her own time with the kiddos, and yet I just know that she had something to say to this. So I'm just so grateful for her, and I hope that you were touched by it. One, just take a moment too for if you need connection around here. That's what we were talking about with relationships in a lot of ways, connection. We need people to walk this life with. And so there's a couple ways to do that. The best way to do that is to fill out the card. You hear us say it time and time again. The card in front of the chair or on the screen here, the Connect card, it helps us find those people that you need to walk through life. Whatever stage you're in, a community group. There's also people on either side of this stage that would love to pray with you. There's a connection piece right now. There's a chance to be heard and seen and valued and loved right here this morning with people. And so I'd encourage you, fill out that card, come up for prayer before the end of the service, if that is your next step. And then lastly, thank you for your generosity. You've heard about a lot of the exciting things that are happening around here this summer. But for you guys who call Journey home, your home church, thank you for your generosity. You make it possible for us to go on youth conferences and go to mission trips and to do all the stuff that we get to do here in the Valley and across the world. So thank you. Thank you, Journey, for being a generous church.
All right, next.
Journey, we love
song
you. I pray
credits.
you have
Go
a
ahead and
great
take
Memorial Day
down the QR.
weekend, and we'll see you next week. Love y'all.
And go song credits, CG1L. Good job, everybody. Again, we'll meet upstairs in about 5 minutes. So if you need to hit the bathroom, do that, and then meet us upstairs for huddle. All right, let's go CG3 to all. Yes, awesome.
Director off call.
Copy. Graphics, if you're still there, you can go back to the 11 o'clock countdown. Thank you.